Let's come together and work as one nation. Let's come together and work as one. Let's come together.
Oh, after having served for 17 years as General Secretary of such a formidable party as NDC, I think that Johnson Asiedu Nketiah has made history. He has made his mark. And as you said, his shoes are very big shoes to fill. And therefore, I'm going to wear my own shoes. I won't attempt to wear his shoes. But I'll learn lessons and draw from his experiences and also seek to improve upon the foundations that he and other predecessors have laid. The NDC needs a general secretary like myself who understands the party, who knows the inner workings of the party, who has been front and center of all the affairs of the party from the year 2000 to date, who has been involved very actively in almost every single campaign of the party, played critical front roles, who has been front and center of every single congress of the party since the year 2002.
I believe that all the people contesting are capable, committed NDC people. At the end of the day, it's only one person that will win. And whoever wins would all give the person our support and ensure that we all work in unison to get the MPP out of power.
I was a parliamentary candidate in 2000. In 2002, when Professor Mills came back to contest as a presidential candidate, I was the deputy campaign coordinator for that presidential primary. After that, I became deputy campaign manager for the NDC, and I deputized for Professor Joshua Alabi, who was a campaign manager. Following that, I was elected at the Congress in Koforidua in the year 2005, when I became the Deputy General Secretary, and I was assigned the role as Deputy in charge of operations. Now, if you're a Deputy in charge of operations, the whole spectrum of events around the campaign revolves around you. So electoral issues, security issues, mobilization of funds, all those things were within my purview. And on several occasions when the General Secretary was not available, I acted instead. So I've been acting General Secretary on several occasions. Now imagine if you are asking somebody to perform a duty, the person must know about the job. I have acted as a General Secretary on several occasions, so I know what it takes. I know the job. Beyond that, I've been Minister, Deputy Minister for Local Government, Minister for Youth and Sports, Minister of State at the Presidency. In the year 2012, when Professor Mills unfortunately passed away, may his soul rest in peace, I was called upon to become the campaign coordinator for that 2012 elections. Within 3 months, by the grace of God, hard work, and teamwork, I led that campaign and we won that election. So 2008, I was front and center. I was in charge of operations, played very critical roles, worked very closely with people like J.J. Rawlings and the late Captain Chikata, may their souls rest in peace. And we won that election. 2012, I was made campaign coordinator, 3-month campaign, traveled around this country, won that election. 2016, I had no frontal role. I just played my role as a minister, helping my constituency and my community. 2018, I was brought back to become the Director of Elections.
Elvis Afriyie Ankrah, the office of the Director of Elections. I hope you will continue with the good work that we have done in this office so far. And I have no doubt in my mind that at the end of the day, we will all be able to achieve the purpose for which this office was established. You are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm counting on your invaluable experience. Prior to 2018, 2016 elections, we were in power. We lost by over 1 million votes. We had 44.3%. We had 106 seats in parliament. The MPP had 169. Within a four-year term, we were able to turn things around. In my view, we won 142 seats. The MPP used violence and intimidation, and 8 people lost their lives. That's what people don't want to talk about. 8 people were murdered before the MPP were declared as having won 137 seats. They stole 5 seats from us. So look at the record. From being in government and losing, coming down to 106 seats, losing 44.3%, we're able to close the 1 million gap, and we almost won majority in parliament. And so, looking at the circumstances, 2020 was a very difficult year, challenging year. If you look at the plan and program that we had, and the resources that were available, and the time the resources were delivered, and what we were able to do, that within a period of 3 weeks, we were able to train almost 150,000 polling agents across the country, deploy them, we trained them, we made sure that every single polling station had their polling agents, made sure that they delivered, got their money, everything. For the first time, the results collation was taken away from the election directorate. So the IT directorate were responsible for results collation. But based on our experience, we decided that we must have a backup, which is manual collation. And lo and behold, it is our backup manual collation that we actually used to collate our results. And we had all our results by the 8th of December.
Let's come together and work as one nation.
The Director of Elections focuses specifically on electoral matters. The Director of Elections is appointed by the national executives to perform a specific task, see to electoral matters, both internal elections, so these internal elections that are going on, branch elections, constituency elections, regional, national. The Elections Directorate is the one that manages the process, produces the register, and ensures that everything is done properly. And then when it comes to the national elections, our job is to supervise and monitor the printing of electoral materials, their distribution and delivery to various regions and constituencies, and also train, recruit, identify, recruit, and train polling agents and deploy them. In the past, we were also responsible for collation and transmission of results. But in 2020, that function was separated and given to the IT director. I'm known as a Rawlings boy. Rawlings was my mentor. I was very close to him, even though we disagreed on a number of issues, and I didn't hide it. That's how he is, and that's how he trained us. So when we disagree, we don't hide it, especially when in his latter days he became too cozy with these MPP people. It was a very uncomfortable situation, but he's still my mentor, somebody that I love and admire. Professor Mills was my father. We were extremely close. There are stories that I can't even talk about publicly, but I think I was closer to him than most people. But I don't like advertising it publicly. President Mahama has been my brother, my friend, my boss all these years. I mean, it would interest you to know that I announced him as running mate to President Mills in 2008 at the Kama Conference Center in the midst of all kinds of controversies. I have very excellent relations with all the senior people, all the cadres, all the various youth groups. Like I said, because I was a lecturer in the university, I understand the current generation, the Generation Z, and I relate very well with them.
When we know that the youthful population, who form the majority of the population, this is their demand, will be compelled to do the right thing. We want a 40-year, 50-year, 60-year development plan, and every government must be bound by it. Start that movement on social media. That is part of the change. And start the movement and demand that political parties must tell us how they are going to now rearrange their finances.
I've worked with local government, and I have relations with traditional authorities. I'm a Christian, a born-again Christian. I'm a lay preacher. It will interest you to know that I was one of the first people that in 2012, following the demise of Professor Mills and in the heat of the campaign, I, together with other members of the clergy and my team, put together the first ever breakfast meeting of 1,680 clergy from all denominations across the country. Every single denomination you can think of. And we had a breakfast meeting at the Castle Gardens. It's never happened before. They themselves said there's never been such a gathering before. That was my handiwork, of course, under the direction of President John Dramani Mahama. We did that. So I have very good relations with the Chief Imam and Muslim community. Most of my aides around me are practicing Muslims. So I'm half Ewe, half Ashanti. I speak Ewe, read, write it fluently. I speak, read, write Akan fluently. I speak, read, write Ga fluently. I'm learning Hausa and Dagbani. So I'm somebody who can be called an ambidextrous personality. I can play with my left leg, I can play with my right leg. And so with that dynamism and with that experience in the background, I have the skill set. I've been there before. I've been doing this, and the results are there for everybody to see. I think that if you look at my track record, I am kilometers and miles ahead of all of them. None of them has ever been a deputy general secretary, okay, apart from one who, is up and coming. I've been a deputy general secretary way back in 2005 to 2009, okay. None of them has ever been a campaign coordinator for a presidential candidate. I have been. None of them has been a campaign coordinator for the entire party. I have been. None of them has been an elections director who has managed the entire electoral process from beginning to end. Some people said they were in the strong room. The strong room, if you list the qualities, the things that we have to do, the strong room is the last process. You cannot, somebody must work on the elections from the polling station down the constituency, region, national, to get to the strong room. So if it's 4 steps, you've done 1. Okay? So that cannot be your trump card. I have done all, supervised all. Okay? I've been deputy general secretary. I've acted as general secretary before. I've managed congresses, national congresses at all levels before. I have super relations with the party. I know how to bring people together. That's my greatest strength. And that is what we need now, this cushion that we cannot afford to go into the 2024 elections as a divided front. We need everybody on board, and that is what I bring on board. I have that capacity. I'm known to bring people together, to motivate them and inspire them. 2008, it wasn't easy. I was front and center. I don't know if people know what it means to be in charge of operations in an election where you are in opposition, and then you work through that election and the party comes back to power. It's not a joke. And then from there, local government going around this country. Some people haven't been to 50 constituencies. 50. I know every single constituency, every single town, every single village in this country. I engage with the people. I've been doing this for the past 20 years. When Professor Mills came from Canada, myself and Ludwig and a few people, we took him around every town, every city in this country. So for you to be able to do a job well, you must know the job. You know, you must understand. If you're going for an interview at Unilever, one of the first things they will ask you is, what do you know about the job? What experience do you bring on board? So you can't say you've done a microcosm of a job that requires maybe 21 skill sets and you've done maybe 1 or 2 or 5. So you should be taken. I've gone through the whole mill. I've gone through every step of the way. And I have the capacity, I have the energy, I have the drive, and I have the courage.
We are sending a note of caution. We are peace-loving people. We want to cooperate and collaborate with the police. They should deal with these incidents. If these incidents continue, as long as we will ask our people to go and register, if they continue, we will tell them to defend themselves.
To be able to deal with MPP in 2024, you need courageous people. You look at our economy, you look at the rating agencies, we are CC, junk, completely off the charts. Look at the amount of money this government has borrowed within this period, less than 6 years. More than any other governments, all the governments put together, over 380 billion. It's crazy. It doesn't make sense. Okay? You talk about corruption. When you talk about corruption, NDC, they will mention, SADA and what they mention 3 or 4 things. And this government, corruption has become a social intervention for this government. Every day one corruption, one day one corruption, one day one corruption. It's as if there's no control. It's an unmitigated disaster. So how can anybody in his right senses say the two parties or governments are the same? We definitely are not the same.
Let's walk together on the journey to peace. No more tribalism, no more war.
Can only do this effectively if you have been there before, if you understand the job. If you've never been there before, if you've never managed such a complex organization before, it will be very difficult for you in a crucial elections like 2024. We cannot afford to experiment. We need experienced hands. We need people also with the temperament. The NDC is a congress. Our party is not an elitist party. It's a congress made up of people from all walks of life. You must have the temperament and personality to be able to deal with all these people in an effective manner. You know, you must not be standoffish, you must not be snobbish, you must be firm where you have to be, but you must be very open and accommodating and have a listening ear. A lot of the things that we do behind the scenes to ensure that we win power, they are not meant for public consumption. It takes a lot of intelligence, it takes a lot of analysis, it takes a lot of networking. So it's not just enough to be able to speak or talk. That's just a little percentage of the job.
We're coming back now.